Now, for this case, we're going to learn how to solve. We're going to be able to solve for x. There's two ways we're going to learn. One of the first two examples that I have is we're solving using graphs. So the instructions for these two questions are going to be solve for f of x is equal to 2. So f of x is equal to 2. And as a matter of fact, on your homework, I'm not going to give you guys an equation. I'm just going to give you guys a graph. Now, here, what I'm asking is, what's the value of x? So let me put a question mark. What's the value of x when y is equal to 2? That's really what I'm saying. What's the value of x when y is equal to 2? All right, so the y-axis, I see y is 2 is right there. Now this line, I can see 2 points. 2 points where the y value is 2. So I'm going to say the x values are going to be -2 and +2. So I'm going to have two possible solutions. In this case, -2 and +2. Again, I find where y is equal to 2, and I find my points that cross the line, y is equal to 2, and I'm just going to give the x coordinates of each point. Let's take a look at question number 46. Remember, I'm solving for f of x. When is f of x is equal to 2? I'm asking, what's the x value when y is 2? So I look at my line, y is equal to 2. And I see I cross my point, my figured, my graph, I cross it at 2 points. My question here is, what are the x values? I'm going to say one of them is -4 and the other one is +4. And thus what I get. Now, let's take a look at number 47. I'm going to also ask you guys to solve each equation. But now here I don't have the graph. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do just operations, but one thing that I need to do is make sure the absolute value, remember the absolute value is this thing with the sign, with these lines, make sure it is by itself. So there's nothing on the outside. Right now, I do see something on the outside. I see this 4 right here. Let me highlight this. I see this, so I have to get rid of it. I'm going to do the opposite operation. There's a plus sign, so I'm going to move it. I'm going to cancel it from this side. Let me cancel it. I'm going to move it to the other side as a -4. Got to switch the signs. Now, it is not always plus or minus. Sometimes I have to undo it by dividing it or by multiplying it. So I get that absolute value of -6v is equal to 60. All right, 64 minus 4, that's where I get the 60. Now that I have the absolute value by itself, I'm going to split this as two different questions. My first question is going to be -6v is equal to 60. Notice I just copied the question without the absolute value lines. But I said I'm going to break it in as two different questions. The other one is going to be -6v is equal to -60. We learned back in pre-algebra that an absolute value is positive, but the inside could be positive to begin with, or it could be negative to begin with. So I have to consider both cases. My first case, let me divide both sides by a -6. So I get v is equal to -10. On the other case, let me divide both sides by a -6, and I get v is equal to +10. I came out with two answers, and that's fine. Remember on questions 45 and 46 with the graphs, we were coming out with two answers. So the same thing here, we can always come out with two different answers. Now let's take a look at question number 48. What I'm going to do, I want the absolute value by itself. So I see a +1 that has nothing to do with my absolute value. So I'm just going to cross it out, and I'm going to write it on this other side as a -1. So I get that absolute value of x plus 6 is equal to 4. Now I'm going to break it down as two different questions. My first question, I'm going to say x plus 6 is equal to 4. And then my other question, x plus 6 is equal to negative 4. Right on the first one, my plus 6, let me move it over as a minus 6. So I get x is equal to negative 2. On the other one, once I move that 6 as a minus 6, I get x is equal to negative 10. Now, one thing, question number 47, my two answers, one of them was negative 10, the other one was positive 10. They look pretty alike. Now, don't think they're always that alike. Looking at number 48, look, one of my answers was a negative 2, the other one was a negative 10. Right. What you have to do is get the absolute value by itself, and then you split it as two different questions. So that's what we did today.